Okay, great. All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting of Bridge and Tunnel Committee. I'm Linda Lacewell. I'm your new chair of this committee. Are there any public speakers today?
Yes, we have two public speakers. The first is Murray Bowden.
Hi, Larry. So, what rules do we operate under around here? Do I have to follow one set of rules and you all get to follow a different set of rules? And that's the question. Everything else I had on the agenda for today has gone sky high. Does a politician have a right to talk as long as they want and I don't? Is the culture around here, we've always done it that way, and why should we change? Why do I have to follow the rules and you all don't? The law says that certain lines on the Bronx-Tidestone Bridge are what they're supposed to be, and they absolutely refuse to do it correctly, endangering safety. One small part. And when I stand up here and 2 minutes go by, they're on my case. And if a politician stands up here, the clock stopped twice this morning. Once at 1 second and the other at 2 seconds. You want me to follow the rules? I expect you to follow the rules. Danny, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. How come you don't follow? How come your staff doesn't follow the rules? Larry, you made some comments this morning about investigating certain things. Investigate why they don't follow the rules. You know me long enough to know that I pretty much I'm stuck following the rules because everybody's on my case. Nobody's on their case.
The next speaker is David Gelman.
I think I'll be closer to 3 minutes. I hope you'll indulge me. Good afternoon. My name is David Gelman, and I'm a member of Community Board 8 on the Upper West Side of New York City, representing Spuyten Duyvil, Riverdale, Kingsbridge, and Van Cortlandt. I'm a member of its Land Use, Parks, and Transportation Committees, as well as its Budgets Chair, though I come today as its closest resident to the Scenic Highway award-winning Henry Hudson Bridge. For generations, the bridge shared its spans from Manhattan to the Bronx for automobiles and pedestrians on both the upper and lower levels, providing spectacular views of the Spuyten Duyvil and Hudson to the west, as well as Inwood Hill Park and Columbia's Bakerfield to the south and east. About a decade ago, at your last major bridge renovation, you closed off the pedestrian path on the upper level, ostensibly to prevent us from walking through the employee parking lot in a post-9/11 world. Well, now with cashless tolling, there are almost no employees nor their vehicles in the lot anymore. Your latest renovation entails dramatic structural work, and so you have closed off the only remaining pedestrian access over the bridge on the lower level. While you shuffled the schedule to shorten the time frame from 29 to 19 months, it has severely limited our bridge and path access to highly convenient once-an-hour shuttle vans during daylight hours for the duration of this work well into next year. I come to you requesting that you reopen the pedestrian path on the upper level of the bridge now and permanently. I have discussed this matter with some of your engineers who advised, logically, anything can be done. It's just a matter of time, money, and MTA priorities. I acknowledge that reopening the upper path will cost tens of thousands of dollars for a few dozen Jersey barriers, which I know you have hundreds of them sitting idle underneath the RFK Triborough Bridge, and may require adjacent fencing like that which you installed on the lower level. Your current project is budgeted for $87 million, and your own projections
Mr. Gelman, please conclude your remarks.
Yes, I'm almost there. Your own projection for 22 million cars, providing $92 million in revenues annually. The vast majority of these cars are not from Riverdale in the Bronx, but we suffer all the traffic, noise, pollution, heat, etc. that they produce. Frankly, on a cost versus community benefit basis alone, this is a no-brainer. Reopening the upper path will improve the quality of life for suffering Riverdale residents.
Mr. Gelman,
Reopening
please.
recreational and pedestrian park access.
Conclude your remarks.
Vastly expand bicycling options for Riverdale residents for the safe 20-plus miles of paths around Manhattan, as well as direct access to the cycling options of the GW Bridge and into New Jersey, and expand healthy, non-polluting commuting options. But wait, there's more. It will create a safe, off-street link to Manhattan for Governor Andrew Cuomo's Empire Trail, as opposed to the unsafe option of biking across the spiky Broadway Bridge. Oh, and did I mention, it will actually save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think Andy would like to know that MTA is saving money. I can explain in detail offline.
Thank you, sir.
But opening the path would
Please
eliminate the
conclude.
need for the shuttle van, which I conservatively estimate costs about $10,000 a month, more likely 20 or 25. New Yorkers are often confronted with bureaucracies.
Sir, please
respond with.
conclude your remarks.
Yes,
Thank
I
you
am.
very much. Thank you. Thank you for speaking with us. Sir, in fairness to other speakers today, you've well exceeded your remarks. This morning, there were there were 23 speakers who spoke within their remarks. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, excuse me. Look, the prior speaker just came in there and criticized us allegedly for not following the rules. There is a rule. We try to provide some flexibility, sir. I do think you've far exceeded our flexibility in terms of taking additional time. So I would appreciate if you would conclude your remarks now so we can begin with the business of the committee.
Okay, I will.
No, now, as in, you've exceeded over 3 minutes, probably closer to 4, and the chair has asked you twice to stop, and you seem to ignore the request of the board, this committee. So you can certainly submit your comments in writing to us, and we'll take it under advisement.
Thank you to the speakers. We'll now move to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Second? Vote in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you. Are there any changes to the committee work plan?
No changes.
Thank you. I will now turn it over to Acting President DiCrescenzo.
Thank you. First, I'd like to welcome our new chair to Bridge and Tunnel Committee. Thank you. Happy to have you. Good afternoon and welcome to the July MTA Bridges and Tunnels Committee meeting. I would like to take a brief moment to commend the actions taken by Bridge and Tunnel personnel during this last weekend's heat wave. In our preparations for this extreme weather event, a major focus was making sure our employees were safe. Supervisors monitored employee activity throughout the weekend, and we deployed adequate staffing to address heat-related incidents at our facilities. We established a maintenance strike team to enable rapid response and mitigation to any issues throughout the weekend, and to make sure equipment such as emergency generators were checked and ready for use. With thorough planning and dedication of the B&T staff, we were able to operate seamlessly throughout the heat wave, despite power outages in some areas surrounding our facilities. I would like to thank all Bridge and Tunnel employees involved for providing excellent service to the millions of customers that used our facilities this weekend. Pat Parisi will now do the report on operations.
The report on operations begins on page 18. Paid B&T vehicle traffic increased by 3.6% in May compared to the same period in 2018. And B&T's traffic for this year through May is 4.4% higher than in the same period of 2018. Easy Pass transactions were 95.3% of the total in the month, or 0.8% higher than in May 2018. This matches B&T's highest Easy Pass market share ever. While both Easy Pass and overall B&T traffic levels grew in May, tolls by mail transactions continued to decline as customers shifted to more Easy Pass usage. Unless there are questions, this concludes the operations report.
Any questions?
Eric Osnes can now do the report on safety.
Okay. Safety report begins on page 33. Overall collision performance improved in the 12-month period ending May 2019 compared to the previous period, with the total 12-month collision rate decreasing by 10% and collisions with injuries decreasing by 11%. For the month of May 2019, B&T facilities saw a 64% improvement in collision with injury rate compared to May of 2018. With that said, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge continues to be an exception. Higher traffic levels at this facility, coupled with merging backups from the Bell Parkway, have resulted in increased queuing, and this appears to be a factor in the facility's safety performance. We are continuing to utilize our engineering controls, education, and law enforcement to improve the situation, including real-time messaging, improved line striping, modification of traffic light signal timing on the 92nd Street exit ramps to reduce backups, traffic pacing, increasing the roadway friction coefficient, and safety enforcement efforts using marked patrol vehicles. While these numbers are of concern, as any collision is something to be avoided, I would like to provide some perspective. On average, B&T has a total of roughly 6 collisions across its 9 facilities each day. In other words, less than 1 collision per facility per day. Even fewer than these, fortunately, result in an injury. With that said, we continue to explore what additional measures can be taken, since any collision is one we want to avoid. Employee and contractor safety metrics are as follows. The employee lost time injury rate for the 12-month through May 2019 is at the average of the previous 2 years, and the contractor injury rate for the 12-month ending in May 2019 is lower than in either of the preceding 12-month periods. And that concludes the safety report.
Any questions on the safety report? Financial report?
Good afternoon. The financial report for May begins on page 39. At more than $455 million year-to-date, support to mass transit was more than $49 million higher than our adopted budget. Year-to-date toll revenue was over $17 million above budget at $815 million, largely due to better-than-expected traffic volumes. As with prior months, expenses continue below budget and are now over by $30 million year-to-date, totaling $193 million for the year-to-date. Unless there are any questions, this concludes the report.
If no questions, capital program?
Good afternoon. The report on the capital program begins on page 56. Through June, B&T is exceeding our goals for capital commitments, both in terms of dollars committed and number of commitments made. Overall, we are on track to meet our annual commitment plan goal of approximately $798 million in capital commitments. Project completions are also exceeding our planned year-to-date goals, and we remain on track towards achieving our annual project completion goal of $198 million in overall project completions. Unless there are any questions, that completes the capital report.
If no questions, procurements?
Procurements start on page 64. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There's a request to use the RFP process and to declare competitive bidding to be impractical in order to pre-qualify firms for miscellaneous electrical construction services on an as-needed basis at various authority facilities. There is no funding committed at this time. There are 2 new awards this month. The first is an as-needed contract to provide surface preparation and painting services at authorities facilities in the amount of $20 million. The second is for design services for project AWX3 to provide structural health monitoring and a weigh-in motion system for authority facilities in the amount of $2.1 million. There are 3 personal services modifications. The first is to provide for the capital expansion of the New York Customer Service Center back offices and systems to support the Central Business District's tolling program in the amount of $15.1 million. The next item is to provide construction support for project RK19/RK70 wind retrofits and miscellaneous structure repairs at the RFK Bridge in the amount of $2.3 million. The last item is to provide construction support services for project HH88B, HH13A, design services for reconstruction of upper and lower level former toll plaza locations and southbound approaches at the Henry Hudson Bridge in the amount of $1.9 million. The total amount committed for these actions is $41.4 million. Unless there are questions, these procurements are described and detailed in the enclosed staff summaries.
Any questions on the procurements? Do I have a motion? Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Just one comment on the conduit. So MTA has had a very successful business relationship with conduits in the past, but as we know, other authorities have not, such as the New York Thruway Authority. Are a lot of the issues that had been raised during that new business relationship between the Thruway Authority and conduit been resolved such that we feel confident moving forward with this procurement, such that for this new tolling program, we wouldn't anticipate any of those same issues?
We continue to work with the other agencies and with Conduit. They have made progress in a number of areas. In terms of this particular request, it's a very straightforward portion of it to build out what is needed for the Central Business District tolling program.
Other questions on the procurement? Do we have a motion to second to approve? Vote in the affirmative? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Thank you. Does that conclude the report? Yes, of course.
This is my first session with this committee, so forgive me if I've missed it, but I don't see any metric that looks at traffic congestion at the crossings. Am I missing something? And if I'm not, is that something we should be looking at?
Yeah, we conduct a quarterly report which does the traffic congestion at the facilities. It shows the percentage of congestion. So we can get you that information.
Okay, thank you.
Just two quick things. Daniel, one, thank you for the follow-up information regarding the completion of the bridge entrances. It was helpful to see the timeline. I would just ask, please make sure they stick to the timeline so it looks like we finished construction at the entrances of all these bridges. The other thing is, last Saturday, I was trying to get back to Westchester County from Long Island at 11:30 at night, and you were doing work on the Throgs Neck Bridge. The traffic everything was being directed to the Whitestone. The traffic backup at Throgs Neck was horrendous. The traffic backup at 11:30 midnight at the Whitestone was horrific. I would just ask that whatever the construction work that even needs to be done late at night on a Saturday night, which kind of surprised me, that there maybe be some coordination with TBTA police or local police to do some kind of traffic control to try to address the traffic congestion, the tie-ups, because I'm telling you, it probably took me from near the entrance of the Throgs Neck Bridge an hour and a half minimum to 2 hours to get home from there, just on how much traffic there was there. So, and that was 11:30, 12 o'clock at night on a Saturday. So we just looked to get some kind of maybe law enforcement coordination there.
I think what Larry could be referring to is that when they do the construction, they sometimes take an extra lane to close it, where if we have a car with lights, the way we do it with the police when they do construction, that car has its lights on, that might help to open up an extra lane, which will help alleviate what he's talking about. Just take a look at it.
Yeah, just quickly, last weekend we had binder work at the Throgs Neck Bridge, which took 2 lanes out at that time of night. That being said, we do coordinate with our resources, but I'll make sure that we'll expand it out more to the region, which I understand.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions for this committee by commissioners? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion. All right. Thank you. We stand adjourned.